宿題終わりと。人間の方々も日々大変なのですね。今の声はここからみたいですが。ゲームでしたか。けどこれもきっと人間を学ぶということですよね。こんなにも喜んでいただけるなんて、ゲームとはなんと素晴らしいのでしょう。さあ、もっと人々を助けないと。どうすれば。
暇だから相手しなさい。サタニキア様が来てあげたわよ。
Welcome to Honest Wayfinder Guides, featuring Niss, the Shadow Dancer. Niss is an absolutely amazing character with zero flaws. I've definitely not been locked up in a basement to say this. Her entire kit revolves around doing damage while moving around the map like a monkey, and she'd be the best DPS in the game if it wasn't for him. Niss' first ability and the button you'll be pressing till you get carpal tunnel is Shadow Step. The only issue with it is the fact it can just not go through big enough enemies. But aside from that, it's an amazing tool for dodging enemy attacks while doing damage. Umbral Aura is an ability that buffs your dashes to do damage to a single enemy each time you dash. But to be honest, it's kinda shit. The animation for it is long and its damage is quite poor. However, the ability has one saving grace. The level 1 upgrade for it allows it to refresh one charge of Shadow Step, giving you more DPS and making this ability worth using mid-fight. Vengeful Shade is a cool-looking ability, but unfortunately that's all it is aside from a bit extra damage. It might have some invulnerability frames during the startup, but it seems quite inconsistent. The ability itself is quite slow and low damage. After the initial cast, it has a follow-up that either lets you gain some extra damage or dodge out of the way and get some iframes. The best part of Niss's kit is definitely her ultimate Gloom Shroud. It allows her to spam Shadow Step with no cooldown for 10 seconds, and since Shadow Step's your main form of DPS when going ability power plus the fact it moves you so much, it basically lets you clear any room for free. Now you might be saying, Jess, how do I play Niss to be as good as you? First of all, you will never achieve my peak as I have clearly surpassed all gods. Second of all, the way you build her is the most important factor of performing well with Niss. If you're a sane human being, you'd build her around weapon power and abuse how absurdly broken Tempest is right now. But if you're as cool as me, you'd go fully into ability power and completely gamble on not being hit out of your Shadow Steps, since you'll be spamming them all day for your ability upgrades. I always recommend putting 1 point into Umbral Aura due to it refreshing your Shadow Step charge. The other upgrades for it are kinda useless, since the ability's damage is worthless, and the team buff is for lame people. I chose to upgrade Shadow Step fully because of the damage it does, and making it do even more is overkill, and doing unnecessarily high damage is the best way to play Niss. Vengeful Shade's upgrades are completely useless, and I don't recommend putting any points into this ability. The damage reduction does nothing. Increased damage barely changes the ability's damage. And while the level 3 upgrade is pretty neat, it requires you to sacrifice at least 2 upgrade points to get it. Gloom Shroud's upgrades aren't the best, but they're quite neat for a bit extra damage. Level 3 is pretty useless, but I'd rather put it here than on Vengeful Shade. Now, as for your stats, you will always want your crit rating around 3.5k to 4k to almost always crit enemies that are equal to your level. Since the game doesn't have a normal crit percent stat like every other game, you might not be critting as much when your power is scaled down. For echoes, the best ones I've found are the Blood Berserker, Codex Sage, Shul Balehorn, Arclight Guardian, Hollow One, Hollow Horror, Bloodletter, Dusk Hunter, Goblin Hunter, Wolf, and Turok et Morn. Since these give a high amount of crit rating, crit power, and ability power without clogging up your echo power with useless stats. As for accessories, you'll want to either use a set or accessories that give AP, crit rating, and crit power. The two best sets I found are the Gloom Monstrosity set, which you can get the Bottle of Shadows and Essence of Night from any 2-3-1-3 power zones with shadow imbuements while the Shadow Inked Journal is crafted. The other set is the Hazardous Quarry set, which also gives basically the same bonuses, but gives out more AP overall, which is great. The pieces are a bit tougher to farm since the Accursed Bracer drops from Grand Deceiver with a 3% drop rate that's shared between two other useless accessories. Spider's Fang drops from Dread Legion, so it's another painful grind, especially with how annoying the platforming can be. Spore Pendant is crafted. It's the only somewhat mid-set piece due to the useless magical defense it comes with, and the fact it's only level 25. Good non-set piece accessories are the Mystic Focus, Bestial Mantle, Golden Cloak, and Remnant Prayer Totem. But I wouldn't recommend going out of your way to farm them, since they don't provide a good set bonus. Well, I hoped you enjoyed this little Niss guide I made, and hopefully one day you can reach 1% of my skill and power with these tips. Now I'll go back to farming the same bosses for 12 hours till I pass out. Toodles.